What's up, duelists? Today I'm going to be showcasing my Banisher control deck, my remove from play control deck. This is a dimensional fissure control deck that uses DD Survivor to gain micro advantage and other cards to sort of prey on the dependency of the graveyard in today's metagame. This is one of my favorite decks in the format. You guys already know. Definitely one of my favorite decks. If you guys like this type of content, make sure and subscribe. We're on our way to 6,000. It's my goal to hit 10,000 by the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it would be really cool. It would be really cool to hit 10,000 by the end of 2022. Okay, getting right into things. This deck is sweet. It plays very slowly, very, very slowly. The only fast cards are the 2 Cyber Dragon and the Trag, as well as the Return, kinda. But it also has a lot of ways to be sticky and annoying thanks to the DD Survivors. These guys play really well into everyone playing Bottomless Trap Hole and Deep Prison right now. Not a lot of cards can deal with this, and you can't effectively Kaius this guy either. He just kind of comes back. And for the other monsters, we've got 1 Breaker to help play through back row. We're not playing Heavy Storm because we're very reliant on sticking our Floodgates. So we have to have back row removal in other places. I decided to go with 1 Breaker, 1 Mystical, and 1 Dust for the main deck in order to play through, some back row can be tricky. Like Royal Oppression can be randomly good against us because it stops DD Survivor. And then a few other cards can be good against us too, like Imperial Iron Wall, lol, is pretty good. Skill Drain's pretty good. So it's good to have the spell and trap removal in this type of deck. I've got Spirit Reaper to poke in the hands, Cyber Valley, which makes full use of our brain control and mind control, and it also works really well in tandem with our DD Survivors. You can get a lot of fun little +1s with Cyber Valley that way. Cyber Dragon helps you play through Rykos and stuff before you've committed to the board. Another thing about Defissure that's really good is that if you have them, they will always force Rykos. So no matter what else you have going on, the Ryko will be forced to hit the Defissure or the macro, and you'll be free to pretty much resolve all your other powerful cards at that point. DD Warrior Lady is great at removing anything. Doom Caliber Knight helps fight against Rykos and stuff. Also helps fight against just annoying decks like gadgets and whatnot. And this card is a house against Glads, which can be a little bit of a tough matchup for this deck too. This card pretty much solo beats Glads on its own. It's also really good with the Defissures because the cards that normally give this card a problem are like Treeborn Frog and Totem Dragon and that kind of thing. Things that like come back from the graveyard and whatnot. When your opponent doesn't have the graveyard, they can't really effectively kill Doom Caliber Knight that easily. Vayu as well is another card that gets rid of it. Trag is just our kind of defense piece, but he can also become a beater and pretty big threat under the right circumstances. 1 Starlight Road, 1 Dark Bribe, and 1 Solemn. These help protect our Floodgates. And then we've got 1 Macro with 3 Defissures and 2 Banishers. I like this ratio a lot. I don't love playing more than 1 Macro. It does lose to Royal Oppression, and drawing 2 of them can be really slow. Macro is just kind of like the 6th copy of this card. Oftentimes, you don't draw one of these, and the deck kind of looks sad. I might go up to a 3rd Banisher, but it's hard to say for sure if that's correct, because we'd have to eat, like, our Gale, which I really like playing, or we'd have to cut a Cyber Valley, which I also really like the full 3. In the side deck, we've got the 3rd Doom Caliber for the matchups where it matters. We've got Thunder King for the matchups where it matters, like gadgets and stuff. We've got 2 Jujitsu Master. I'm actually not sold on these cards. I think I might cut them. I'm going to show you guys 6 replays, I believe, 7 replays of this deck. And the Jujitsu Masters are probably the worst card in the sideboard, so I might cut them. Dyna, I might cut him too. He's not that... He hasn't been that good, basically. He hasn't helped where we need help. Gorz, Sirocco, these cards are great. Smashing Ground is okay. I might cut this too, actually. One thing I might do is I might go up to a 3rd copy of Trap Hole. Here, I might have a 3rd Trap Hole. And then I might actually play some stuff like Chain Disappearance. I'm not sure. Just something to stop tempo. Stop tempo, basically. Maybe a 2nd Starlight Road somewhere in here as well. I think in one of the earlier replays, I did have 2 Starlight Road in the main. I ended up cutting 1 for the 3rd Deep Prison because I was scared of breaking on double Starlight Road. But I think 2 Starlight Road over the 3rd Deep Prison can be okay in some circumstances as well. Extra deck, pretty straightforward. It's just all the stuff you can make with Gale. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I guess we don't have Arcanite. We should have Arcanite in this deck. We should have Arcanite over... We should have Arcanite and Android, honestly. We should have it over probably Stardust, because we only have 1 Starlight Road. And then we can probably cut Colossal Fighter, because we're playing Defissures and stuff. So we could probably cut him for the... What was the last card? It was Arcanite and Android. Yeah, these cards matter a lot. I had Android actually come up in one of the replays. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into the replays. The first replay is going to be against Alpaizo. So I played this deck a bunch. I was practicing it for an Iron Man that I was entering in, and then I'm going to show you guys my replays from the Iron Man as well. This is my first match with this deck. I'm not exactly sure how well I'm going to do with it, and let's just see how it goes. I'm going first, opponent's going second, and they're playing Burn, which is a deck that is probably pretty good against us if our opponent played it a little bit more accurately. I start off with Banisher and I set Bottomless Trap Hole. Now looking at the opponent's build, they have a Neba White Rabbit, which is a pretty good card in Burn. It gives you a repeatable source of damage. It does turn on your opponent's battle traps, but I think it's worth it if you can get in like 1400 with one card. That's pretty good value. They've also got Wabaku, which I don't like. I think Wabaku is kind of mid, as well as Misfortune. I think Misfortune's a little bit mid. They probably should have cut Misfortune from this deck for something like a Meteor of Destruction, or I don't know, some sort of like, there are better cards to play, Accumulated Fortune, that type of thing. They hit us for 700, and we can't really stop it, so we're just like, okay. But now I know that they're playing Burn, because no other deck plays this card except for Burn. They're going to set just Desserts. No. They're going to set just Desserts and pass. They don't want to play too much into Heavy Storm right now and be forced into Reckless locking themselves. I start off with, or I pick up Spirit Reaper, which is really good because this card is insane against Burn, basically. Not only does it wall out against aggressive threats that aren't the White Rabbit, but it also pokes at their hand and forces them to play awkwardly by setting their cards into maybe my Breaker. Here we roll 5 and we hit the Reckless Greed, which is actually huge. That Reckless Greed represented 2 points of burn at the end of this game, which could have definitely killed us. So that was actually a really good snipe with the Spirit Reaper. This time we have Deprison for the White Rabbit, so we're able to clear that, and it only dealt us 700, so that's very good for us, that we're able to trade a card for 700 damage and basically stay above a healthy life total. They're going to set Poison and Wabaku, and they're going to try to activate Misfortune, but I didn't allow them, I reminded them that they did attack with Ineba White Rabbit this turn, so they can't actually attack with Misfortune, or they can't actually activate Misfortune right now. They are going to activate this Tremendous Fire and deal us 1,000. So here I'm like, okay, the Spirit Reaper Directees isn't that good, but at least it's damage. I should commit another monster here. And I do commit the Breaker because I know about the Misfortune, so I'm going to do that and pop their back row. It is a bit unfortunate that the opponent didn't read their own card, but that's on them, like that's their misplay. So what can you do? And then I attack with both of these and the Spirit Reaper and pass. They draw Reckless Greed. Here I do attack directly. They Wabaku. I set the Deprison. They're just trying to find more burn spells to be able to deal a lot of damage to us. And they're also trying to get us to commit more monsters into their Just Desserts. They find Chain Strike, which is actually really good. It's one of the best burn spells for them because it'll deal 1,600. But not only does it deal 1,600, but deals it up front, like right now. So they're going to activate Reckless Greed, Just Desserts, Poison the Old Man, and Chain Strike. So I'm going to take actually a lot of damage here. This is 3,100, 3,900 total. I'm going to drop to 2,400. If these two had been like real cards that dealt me the last few points of damage, let's say another Just Desserts and maybe a Secret Barrel, we could have very easily lost this game. But thankfully they picked up Lava Golem and the White Rabbit, which are two conflicting cards and don't really do so well. Generally speaking, in the burn decks, you want to play one copy of the White Rabbit. You don't want to play more because it can break. So yeah. Okay, next game I have, kind of a weird opening hand. It's not very fast, which is actually pretty bad against burn. But their opening hand has 3 ways to stop battle damage and 0 ways to deal damage except for Ineba White Rabbit. So I think it's pretty good for us, like all things considered, very fortunate. We draw Macrocosmos. I was forced to leave it in because I just didn't have enough cards to bring it in the matchup. And I think Macrocosmos is like the least bad of all the cards. It can maybe prevent, like, what's the card, Mask of Darkness, from getting us somewhere. Here's the Ineba White Rabbit. We did set the Deprison for it, so we're able to banish this guy and take 0 damage from it, which is nice. We pick up Spirit Reaper, which is, again, just an insane card in this matchup. I'm going to attack, and it does force the Battle Fader, but that's exactly what Spirit Reaper wanted to do anyway, discard a card from their hand. I set my 2 cards, and then I pass. They set some more cards there, the Just Desserts and the Ojama Trio. That's going to be a nice combo for them. And then they set Reckless Greed and summon this 0 Gardna to try and protect themselves from Spirit Reaper poking them. At this point in the game, I find Gale, which is actually a really nice card to draw here. I have set this Cyber Valley to kind of trick my opponent into activating Ojama Trio if they do have it. That's the reason I set Cyber Valley instead of summoning it. I also don't expect my opponent to be attacking my monsters all that much, because their only way of attacking usually is like this guy, maybe Stealth Bird, And if they do, I have Mirror Force, so I'm not too pressed. Here they're going to activate Just Desserts and activate that Ojama Trio. So me setting the Cyber Valley actually does end up working out really well for me. I do get the 3 tokens, and I go to my main phase. I take 2,500, which is huge. That's a lot of damage. But I am thankfully able to flip Cyber Valley, activate it, banish one of the tokens, and draw 2. And this is actually where the Android would have come up. I could normal summon Gale here and synchro into Magical Android in defense position. Never really attack with it and just gain 600 passive per turn. I don't think the burn decks can ever beat an active Magical Android like that without specifically finding Lava Golem. So the 2 cards I do find are Banisher and Deep Prison, which can stop a second rabbit if they have it. I go ahead and attack to force the Gardna. And then main phase 2, I actually elect to use my normal summon on Cyber Valley to try and draw 2 new cards and see if I can find anything else. I did board in Nobleman of Crossout at the time I was boarding Nobleman. This was my first match with the deck. I ended up swapping these out for Smashing Grounds later. I think I might go back to Nobleman's. Yeah, I think I might go back to Nobleman's, and you'll see why in the later matches. But yeah, so opponent sets Scapegoat, passes the turn, I draw for turn, I normal summon Banisher, I attack with the Spirit Reaper, and here they activate Scapegoat. Now, I can attack one of these tokens, or I could leave all 4 in play, and the reason to leave all 4 in play is because Gale can make Armed Wing, and Armed Wing can deal 2,800 over each token, so it's actually a very fast clock. However, I think it's very, not effective, but I think it's a better use to attack over 1 token, and then on the following turn I can pierce with the Armed Wing, attack over a second one with the Gale, and then on the turn after that I can pierce the last token, attack directly with Reaper if all things go according to plan. So I do end up attacking 1 token here, but there is some consideration to not attacking any of them because I can summon a 2,800 piercer. So I do attack the token, I do pass the turn, I don't need to commit any of these other cards, there's no real reason to. I pick up DD Warrior Lady, but that's not going to be the summon, it's definitely going to be Gale. We're going to synchro with the Banisher, pierce over the token, and go with the exact plan that I had mentioned before, which is going to be pierce and then directies with the Spirit Reaper, keep them on low resources, hopefully go from there. They find another Battle Fader, and honestly their draws have been very anemic. Here they are forced to Wabaku. We're going to set our Dust Tornado and pass. They pick up another Wabaku, they're going to set that and pass. I'm going to dust it in the end phase. And now they're going to be in kind of a tight spot because I could theoretically, no, I can't do anything. I just have to summon the DD Warrior Lady, pierce, and then attack directly, and they take nothing because they Battle Fader, but they're just too low cards to make something happen. This is kind of not a bad sequence for them. They do get to deal 3,400 total, which is pretty good. And again, they have 2 cards to deal 2,100, which is totally doable. I mean, Just Desserts plus any piece of burn does it. But unfortunately for them, they find Morphing Jar and Just Desserts. So they are just short, and we can pierce over the active Battle Fader in order to win the game. So it was a pretty tense match. I actually don't think their deck is all that bad. I think there's a few questionable cards, like maybe playing multiples of the Rabbit, maybe playing multiples of these Battle Fader type cards. They can be kind of bad. But in general, I think it was actually a much closer match than it may seem, even though I ended with 25,000 cards and they ended with only 2. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next match. This is a match against Mark Simpa Enya. He's playing Light Sworn, I believe, and I'm playing this deck. Okay, so I wanna make a point of this match because the only reason I'm leaving this replay, and it's a quick replay, he summons Gareth and then he attacks, and we just take it because we have Cyber Dragon. Oh no, we have Trag, that's right. And we switch Trag and we attack over Gareth. Now, every time I host a match, you know? I host a match, and I want to play the match, basically. Don't join my game if you don't want to play a match, basically. If you're just going to quit out because you see a D-Fissure and you brick because you're playing a deck that does that, then don't play against me in general. Like, it's very frustrating. Especially because, like, you're wasting my time and other stuff. So this is just a PSA. If you join my matches, don't quit out. I host 2 out of 3 for a reason. Okay, next match. This one is against Dark Pain, who is playing... I don't remember what he's playing. I guess we'll find out. He's playing Glads. I should have noticed that he had 13-card extra deck, but I didn't in the game because sometimes these sleeves have a weird bug where it doesn't show the number of cards in the deck in extra deck. So he's playing Glads. He's playing a very unique version of Glads, actually. But we have an insane hand against Glads. Like, we have Doom Caliber, which is FTK against Glads. So that's pretty much all you need. And we have Starlight plus 4 back row. So this game's over. Like, there's just no way they can win. Even with what they have, it's just over. They're main decking Dust Tornado, which is very interesting. We are going to summon the DD Survivor. They're not going to activate their D Prison on the DD Survivor because... or they're not going to have removal for the DD Survivor. They probably should have solemned this DD Survivor in hindsight, but maybe they thought they could get a Laquari attack in somehow. No, they can't even get a Laquari attack in. So, yeah, they should have solemned the DD Survivor. That was a misplay. But yeah, DD Survivor is able to run over their monster, and then they just can't really do anything because their monsters are of lower quality than ours. So we pretty much win this game based off of that. I top deck the second Doom Caliber, which is just very lucky. It's just the best card in this matchup. They probably should have solemned this too. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe trying to hope for something. There's a Raikou, but that just trades with Doom Caliber. And then I'm like, oh, Raikou's interesting. I wonder if they're playing Hamster Glads. So that's kind of in the back of my mind is Hamster Glads. I'm not going to side any differently than I did, but it's fine. Main phase 2, I think I break or pop. Because I have so much removal to protect my monsters. I don't mind having a 1600 monster in play. And I just want to get this guy down and get his effect off while War Chariot is dead. And I'm able to pop the War Chariot, so it works out nice. If they smash and ground me here, it's just going to pop the Breaker, and that's great. We top deck Banisher, which makes our DD Survivor even more resilient. And he just admits defeat, and we go to the next game. This game, I get to see a little bit more of his build. He's got Wabaku, Smashing Grounds. He's got Hoplomus and Raikou. He's got a lot of interesting defensive choices. Goes ahead and sets Raikou to start, and I believe he just sets D Prison. Oh, he sets both. Interesting. We cited in the Jujutsu Masters. I think this card is not very good. I'm definitely going to be cutting it from my sideboard moving forward. I just don't like how passive it is, basically. We pick up Rhoda, which is like the best possible. I'm going to go grab DD Warrior Lady. I am going to set, I believe, a monster. No, I'm going to summon DD Warrior Lady, set 4, and then attack. I was like, maybe it's Morphing Jar. They don't set that much. I had kind of forgot about Raikou, but they're going to de-prison the DD Warrior Lady anyway. I'd probably, if I were them, just let the Raikou get hit. Although I guess they need the Raikou to trade with the back row. D-Prison doesn't really trade with the back row effectively. Okay, I kind of get it. Plus Wabaku doesn't look that great against DD Warrior Lady. I kind of get it. So they're just playing a shitload of spot removal. This is just Glads with a shitload of spot removal. And you'll see later on how much spot removal it is. They mill a Smashing Ground. I'm like, okay, so they have Smashing, D-Prison, they're maining Torrential, which is rare. I know they were maining Space Typhoon, or not Space Typhoon, Dust Tornado, so they have Dust plus Space Typhoon, and they have these Raikous. So they hit me for 200, they set the Hoplomus, and I'm like, huh, that's wild. So they set the Dust Tornado here, I summon Doom Caliber. If that's another Raikou, I just want to clear the face-up one first, and if they have Book of Moon here, I'd like to take my 2-for-1, using the Doom Caliber to kill this Raikou and their Book of Moon, so... Looks like they don't, so I was able to just attack over the Raikou. They pick up Fissure, so they're playing not only the full 3 copies of Smashing Ground, but multiple copies of Fissure as well. Fissure's going to kill my Doom Caliber, which is a little awkward. They're going to summon into Torrential with no protection and just lose both their monsters, so... Bit of a mistake. They just didn't need to do that. They could have just flipped Hoplomus and been fine. I would have been forced to Torrential that, basically. But, yeah, a little bit of a mistake. Maybe trying to bait a bottomless or something, but... I don't know. We pick up a second Doom Caliber. We did board up to 3, and I'm just going to summon it. They didn't have a response to it last turn, so they probably don't have a response to it this turn. I'm going to able to get in 1900. They pick up their 3rd Smashing Ground. They're going to activate it. I'm going to Dark Bribe that, and they draw into a 2nd Fissure, so I'm just like, oh my goodness. That was one of the worst Dark Bribes of my life. I set the Jujutsu Master, and I set the D-Prison, and I pass. They pick up Trap Dust Shoot, which is not a good card in decks that are playing tons of spot removal. That's another thing, going back to our list real quick, we're not playing Trap Dust Shoot. And the reason we're not playing Trap Dust Shoot is because our deck has a ton of spot removal. When you have a ton of spot removal, Trap Dust Shoot's going to be dead probably like 60-70% of the times you draw it in the middle of the late game. And I don't like it in the matchups that are actually bad for us, which is Blackwings and Glads. Those are probably our worst matchups. So going back to this replay, wherever the hell it is. Which one is it? Oh, it's this one. Okay, cool. So they pick up Trap Dust Shoot. Yeah, and I don't think that they should have Trap Dust Shoot in their deck either. I don't think it is doing them any favors, especially not in this matchup. Pick up Cyber Dragon. It's kind of dead. They draw Solemn, which is really good. We draw Return, which is actually could be insane at some point. Who knows? they pick up 7 tools, they set it, they pass, we pick up Dust Tornado, I set it, I pass, they pick up Bestiari. Here they normal summon Bestiari. I try to trap hole it because I just don't want them to have Glads in play. And I want to force through some of this back row. If they have like Book of Moon, if they have that kind of shit, like I'm down to force it through. And they have 7 tools, so I'm like, okay. They attack, and now I have Deep Prison, which they do actually have to stop because Bestiari being banished means no Geyserist for you. It's limited to 1. They have Solemn for that. They drop really low in life points here, which is pretty bad for them. And then at the end of all of this, they end up running face first into Jujutsu Master. I Dust Tornado in the battle step. They chain Waboku. The reason I Dust Tornado here is to play around Chariot. And it's not going to get much better for me than here. And then here before the monster, before the damage step, they are also going to Dust Tornado our return, which I'm not going to chain. There's no real reason to do that. And they're going to run into Jujutsu Master. It's going to stack their Bestiari on top of their deck. And then they're going to smash and ground my Jujutsu. They don't take damage because Waboku did resolve. We draw Cyber Valley, which is actually pretty good. I'm going to summon it. They're going to summon Bestiari, pass. I'm going to find Breaker, which is just an insane draw because I can summon this and then pop their back row and then draw 2 cards and then Cyber Dragon, run over the Bestiari and just be in an insane position. So really good use of Breaker there. Really good top deck for us in this position. We have a little bit more effective top decks than these. The issue with Fissure and Smashing Ground, as you're seeing here, is that when you overload on this, look at the life totals. You are forced to play a certain way now because these cards only deal with the threat after they've already gotten an attack in. So overloading on these means you're going to be taking a lot of damage unless you have a good defensive position, and Glads don't put up a good defensive position without, of course, a Plamis Raikou, that kind of thing. So I think overloading on these cards is actually quite bad, and it probably cost our opponent this game. They just couldn't do anything because our monsters outclass theirs, and eventually we have more threats than they have answers, and they've taken too much damage. So they have less turns to draw out of things than we do. Okay, that matchup should be very bad for this deck, theoretically. But thankfully, due to the power of Doom Caliber Knight and due to the power of us, just utilizing our trap cards effectively, it ended up working out really well for us. This is the next match up against X Gangster X. I don't remember what he's playing either, but I do win the rock, paper, scissors, which is crazy lucky. Oh, this game's insane. Yeah, this game's actually insane. So I start off with Doom Caliber Knight, and then I do set Deep Prison. The reason I do this is because if they have, like, Evil Guy Caius, Doom Caliber negates it. If they have Cyber Dragon, Deep Prison protects the Doom Caliber Knight. I just want to be able to have this set up, and I don't want to play into Heavy Storm quite yet. Okay, they trade in. Also, Doom Caliber Knight, if you have it, you want to summon it turn 1 because it's so good against things like Swap Frog or Armageddon Knight. Whereas later in the game, it can be bad if they already have Treeborn Frog in the grave and whatnot. It could totally stunt like an opening Subsitoad, whereas like, and be an insane card in the Frog matchup if you have it down turn 1. Whereas like later on, it's just a total blank. They're going to trade in, pitch the Norlaris, and I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Allure of Darkness is going to draw into some more cards for them. They get a trade in again. They actually have a really good start here now. They have Heavy Storm plus, Dark Arm Dragon if they're able to get a 3rd Dark in the grave. And it looks like they are able to actually get a 3rd Dark in the grave. So they Heavy Storm first, which is understandable, and then they go for the Phantom of Chaos activation. Now, one thing that I think they actually should have done a little differently is save the Heavy Storm. They should have saved the Heavy Storm. And the reason being is because they have Dark Arm Dragon, which is better use for one-time spot removal. They can do something like Phantom activate with priority. Doom Caliber will negate. The only difference is if we have Solemn Judgment, and if we Solemn Judgment the Phantom, then they can special the Dark Arm to attack over the Doom Caliber and actually save the Heavy. So they use the Heavy here when they didn't need to. So this slight misplay ends up costing them the game, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they should have not used the Heavy here. They should have used Phantom of Chaos first to trade with the Doom Caliber, and then Dark Arm to trade with the back row and hold the Heavy Storm, basically. They're able to pop this. And then at this point, they don't actually summon the Dark Arm, which is another misplay, I believe. I believe just leaving the Dark Arm in hand is kind of awkward because they intend on Call of the Haunting their Phantom of Chaos. They want to get full value out of all of their cards before they go for the Norlaris nuke. They also didn't Gold Sark, which is interesting. But I guess it makes sense. They don't want to do it until they can guarantee they resolve Phantom. We Rhoda for DD Warrior Lady. The reason we do this is because if they have like Red Eyes Darkness Metal, like Wyvern Red Eyes Darkness Metal, then it can be really good against us. So we're just going to summon DD Warrior Lady and attack for 15. Thankfully, I did top deck Book of Moon. Book of Moon is just like really good effect here. It's going to be able to keep the opponent in an awkward position. I said all 3 because Heavy Storm's now gone. And the opponent not using their Dark Arms more effectively here is going to cost them, I believe. So they're going to call the Haunted back Phantom of Chaos. They top deck Foolish Burial, which is a really unlucky top deck for us. They're going to activate fucking Gold Sark. I was going to say Phantom, but yeah, they're going to activate Gold Sark search Future Fusion, of course. They're going to activate Phantom of Chaos. We're going to chain Book of Moon. So this is, I believe, still going to resolve. Banish that target, and if you do, yeah, I believe this still banishes the target. Yeah, that's how it works, yeah. So since they activated Phantom and we chain Book, they're going to banish the Sky Scourge and then be flipped face down, and then they can flip the Phantom again, and they could copy the Dark Horus, but now they have like very few Darks in grave, and it's not very effective for them. They're just going to end up foolishing the Sky Scourge, and then they're going to activate, and unfortunately we just don't have another stop for this, which sucks. However, we do have some good top decks. The first good top deck is Dimensional Fissure. Dimensional Fissure, Banisher, or Macrocosmos would be great at dealing with this here Future Fusion. That's what we need to find, basically. And then on top of that, we also need to find a way to start like winning the game. So they top deck Red Eyes Wyvern. They haven't normal summoned, but I believe they passed the turn. Oh, no, they don't. They top deck Red Eyes Darkness Metal. That's right. They discarded Red Eyes Wyvern, and then they top deck Darkness Metal, and then they pass turn. I top deck Cyber Valley, which is not the worst, because next turn if I draw any monster, it gives me 2 redraws at finding Defissure or Macro before they have access to this Future Fusion. So I pass again. They top deck Necrogardener. They do actually get to summon Necrogardener and attack our Cyber Valley, which gives us a redraw, which is very nice. And we do end up finding Breaker. Just kidding. We find Banisher of the Radiance off the top thanks to Cyber Valley digging us 1 extra card deeper. And Banisher of the Radiance is actually one of the best cards here because it's also going to clear the Necrogardener, which is nice. So we clear that. We just need to fade 1 turn of them finding like a dragon or something like that. They find card destruction. They're able to add Future Fusion to their hands. They just set the card destruction and pass. I don't know why they set the card destruction here. Not only is this, I think, a misplay, but if they top deck Gores, they're going to want this in hand. So I actually think this is another poor play from the opponent. We're going to top deck Spirit Reaper, which is a great way to win this game. We're going to Breaker pop their back row, which is, exactly what you're supposed to do in these types of situations. Spirit Reaper is interesting, and you'll see why it's interesting here in a second. I attack for 3,200 directly, and then I pass the turn. The opponent does top deck Dark Grepher. So they have a way to out the Banisher of the Radiance, which is bad. Which is very, very bad because they have Future Fusion. So my only hope at this point is that they lock up their board and I'm able to find trap cards that prevent them from finding the out to Spirit Reaper. And they have a lot of outs. So if you look at the cards that have been used so far, they have Dark Armed Engrave. So Phantom of Chaos is an out. They have, of course, Plague Spreader Zombie. So they can use that to make a Synchro, which gives them another out. And then I think they have Brain Control. I'm not sure if this deck does play Brain Control. He might have cut it for Call of the Haunted. I'm not really sure. But generally speaking, they do play Brain Control sometimes. So it's 2 more Phantom of Chaos I need to worry about. And then Plague Spreader I need to worry about after the Spirit Reaper sticks. And I'm just hoping that they lock their own board. So it makes it very difficult for them to ever get anything going. They pitched a special summon Dark Grepher. And this play is interesting. This means that they want to bring back the Red Eyes this turn and basically give me 1 turn to find an out. Which is, I understand it. I respect it. There's only so many Spirit Reapers, right? There's only so much of that type of effect. And in this moment, I'm actually thinking, you know what would be an insane card in this deck? It's like Gel and Duo or Marshmallow. Because like this guy under, or Marshmallow under Defissure could stall out entire strategies. It could be super good. That was something I was thinking about in my brain at this moment. But yeah, unfortunately, they're just going to be able to get double Red Eyes here. And we're just going to be in a bad spot. And we need to find an out. I top deck DD Survivor. It's not a good card to top deck here because it doesn't do anything. First off, we don't want to attack over this Grepher because if we do, it gives them a space to utilize for Phantom of Chaos. And I want them to lock their board. If they bring in even 1 monster with Red Eyes, then the 5-head is going to come out and they're going to have a locked board. So I want their boards to be locked. So I need to just set the Spirit Reaper and switch the Breaker and pass. They top deck Gores, which is, quite funny. If they weren't able to out the whatever card, I guess, card destruction, thing with the Gore, you get where I'm going with this. Activates Red Eyes twice and locks his own board. He thinks that if he's able to attack through all of these monsters, he will beat us. He attacks with the Grepher, he attacks with Red Eyes, and now it's a Spirit Reaper. And now we do find Defissure, which is actually really, really good. That means if he finds Plague Spreader, he'll only have one shot at that, provided we have one back row. So we're going to activate the Defissure and still pass. He top decks the Dark Creator, and he's got to pass. He needs to be able to clear up room in his board, and then also find a Phantom or find a whatever. And it's going to take him at least 2 turns to do that. So he has to Tribute summon for this Gores at some point. I think he does it this turn. No, he doesn't do it this turn. We top deck Torrential Tribute, which is like game. As long as this resolves, we win the game. So that's pretty much that. That's kind of where I'm chilling right now. I'm like, if we resolve this, he loses everything. There's like nothing he can do. There's not enough Darks for Dark Creator. If he summons a Phantom Chaos into this, then he loses his Phantom as well. There's just so much like stuff that could go wrong for him. So here he does find the Phantom, so he spends the turn double tributing for Gores, and then passes the turn. We top deck Solemn Judgment, which is an insane top deck too. So we've had the most, like 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 amazing top decks this game. And that's why Norlaris is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like, I mean, both players are going to top deck, but your deck has a lot of these like cards that just kind of brick. Low-key. Like, a lot of these cards that kind of do nothing. So I'm going to set Solemn Judgment, pass. He's going to upstart into Royal Decree, which is a very scary card. And I like his play here. I like his play. He actually just sets the Decree and passes. Like, he doesn't go for this Phantom into my back row. He tries to set up for it with the Decree. We top deck another limited trap card, which is insane. It's just the best possible situation for us. And we do have Solemn for the Decree now, which is great. He is maining Decree, which is scary as fuck for our deck because we play a ton of traps, but we do have one of our 2 or 3 outs, I believe, and we're able to negate the shit out of that. He top decks Rhoda. That doesn't do anything. He's going to summon Phantom. I ask priority because I kind of want to bait him into banishing the dad now. That would neuter his other Phantom, but he correctly does not priority activate the Phantom, and I am forced to Torrential, basically. So that clears the whole board. He still has Rhoda, the Dark Creator. He does Rhoda for Grepher. He thinks here for a second about summoning it. He doesn't. He can special summon it by pitching the Dark Creator, but that costs him the game as we were able to summon DD Survivor and attack for lethal. So that was a crazy game. We got Norlaris, and we were able to come back thanks to the power of Spirit Reaper and Torrential Tribute and Solemn Judgment. Okay, on his turn, he is going first. He's going to start with Future Fusion, and his start is going to be quite crazy this game. You'll see he has Foolish, he has Giant Trinity, he has Trade-In, Live Trade-Ins, which is gross. He should honestly trade in his Dark Creator here, but he doesn't. I don't know why. I don't know why he waits on it. Our opening hand is very bad. I need to set Banisher and just hope he misplays into Gores, which is basically my plan. So I set Banisher. He finds another trade-in, so he trade-ins his Dark Creator, finds Dark Horus, trade-ins that, Rhodas for Grepher first. He actually makes some interesting plays here. He makes Brownic, which I think is pretty good. He's supposed to stack this up the deck, but we fix that here in a second. He makes Brownic. He pitches his extra trade-in to bounce my Banisher, and now I'm like, okay, I lose if he plays it right. And then he brings back double Dark Horus. Here he attacks with Brownic. That's fine. He attacks with Red Eyes. I have to drop Gores here. And he actually misplays. He's supposed to attack over the Gores with the Red Eyes and over the token with the Dark Horus, and I would lose. But instead, he attacks over both with the Dark Horuses and attacks directly and leaves us at 100. So if we find Mirror Force here, which we end up finding, we're actually okay if he plays into it. I summon Banisher the Radiance. This is going to switch off Brownic from being able to bounce any of our things. And then I set 3 because I do want to prevent him from being able to clear Banisher somehow and then, you know, being able to Brownic after that. He top decks the Giant Trine, which he stacked with Plague. He plays it. I'm forced to Solemn down to 50 life points. Really tense situation for us. Really, really tense situation. Activates Brownic, but I remind him that he cannot because Banisher the Radiance is in play. He switches his Red Eyes to defense. Very accurate play from him. Honestly, he could have switched one more of these to defense and attacked with 2. But he plays it through 2 spot removal by leaving 3 in attack position. But that plays pretty poorly into our top deck Mirror Force. Unfortunate for him. On our turn, we top deck Book of Moon. Not the best. We do need to find something here. Like, I don't even know what we could possibly find at this point. I think it was like Spirit Reaper. If we find Spirit Reaper, we're okay because the Plague is gone and he can no longer get Phantom of Chaos stuff going through Book of Moon. Yeah, I think it just had to be like Spirit Reaper or something. I set Book. I set Banisher. He switches the 2 red eyes. He attacks the face-up banisher. I should have booked here, which is a little bit of a mistake, but I don't. I book the second attack, which is a mistake. And here I need to top deck Gale, I believe, because Gale have this red eyes and then attack over the other red eyes with Goyo. Gets us kind of out of this. But we top deck a D Prison, which isn't bad, as long as we, he doesn't find another dragon, basically. And he finds Heavy Storm, which is kind of the worst case scenario for us. And we just go to the next game. It was a close game. Way closer than it should have been. He did throw. He missed lethal on 1 turn, but that's what happens sometimes. Our opening hand's really good. We have Macrocosmos, which is an FTK against this deck. And their opening hand is fucking insane, too. It's 4 limited cards with a Dark Horus. So hopefully Macrocosmos just carries. We're going to summon this guy, set Macro, set Bottomless. Here I activate Macro in the draw phase. And the reason I want to do this is because the draw cards pitch his cost. So if he's able to get a turn where he if he goes to his main phase and he activates Trade In and pitches Dark Horus and I chain Macro, then there's a Dark Horus in the grave. Or a Norlaris in the grave, which I need to worry about. So I actually need to activate Macrocosmos in the draw phase. So I do. And his hand is not very friendly at dealing with our setup here. There's just no way for him to get around this. So he just has to pass. We top deck DD Warrior Lady. I'm actually going to attack for 1800. I'm reading Gores a little bit. If he has Gores, main phase 2, I can brain control the Gores and Cyber Valley, banish both to draw 2 cards. He doesn't. I'm actually going to summon Cyber Valley. I want to find protection for this Macrocosmos ASAP. That's more important to me than getting the extra monster into play. So I'm going to banish both, draw 2 cards, and I do find the protection in Solemn Judgment. And I also find another layer of protection against specifically Royal Decree, which is Mystical Space Typhoon. I set both of those, and I do believe I set the return as well. And then in the end phase, I'm able to bring back DD Survivor, which is the power of Cyber Valley DD Survivor as a combo. Opponent draws Gold Sark. They are basically forced to Gold Sark here for Cold Wave, which isn't even going to do anything really because it's not going to shut off Macro. And then it's also going to cuck all of the spell cards in their hand. So it's like, what can they even do? They wrote it for Greffer, but then they're kind of just deck thinning and setting and passing. In phase, I Typhoon their thing. It's Foolish Burial Bluff. I go ahead and summon DD Warrior Lady, activate the second D-Fissure. This insulates me against specifically Space Typhoon. So if he has Space Typhoon and pops one of these, I'll still have another one in play, and I'll still have Solemn for the sweeper that I know is coming, the Cold Wave, but he won't even get a chance to use the Cold Wave because this clock is too fast. Brain Control potentially going to steal me the game later on, but yeah, this should be a wrap. He picks up Necrogardna. That's a defensive move that he can make. He goes ahead and attacks this DD Warrior Lady. While I could bottomless the Stark Greffer, I think I just let it happen because I have return and I can just return back the DD Warrior Lady and the Cyber Valley and that kind of stuff. And I found a monster off the top, so I am able to go for game. I'm going to return both back. I'm going to normal summon DD Survivor. Attack with the DD Warrior Lady first. It's optimal to do this in case it has more defense than the DD Survivors, like a Debris Dragon or something random. And then we are able to take this game thanks to the power of Macrocosmos and D-Fissure in this matchup. That was a really tough matchup. It's actually a really hard matchup. Because they have so many ways to find their sweepers, so many ways to use like Norlaris and put us on low resources, and their deck on low resources is much better than ours. We need like specific like weird combinations of cards to really do anything powerful, and getting lucky enough to top deck those like we did in the first game isn't going to happen that frequently. So we did get pretty lucky to steal this game from X Gangster, and he says he's a big fan, so shout out to X Gangster. Very kind player, very kind opponent, and played pretty well too. Now, if you'll notice from the last game, there was a person watching, which was Blazing Red Diablo. He joined my game after this, and I'm just playing matches, waiting for my Iron Man game. I believe the first player on my team is like now 1-0 or 2-0 or something, and I'm just like killing time. He's playing a cool deck with the Wicked Dreadroot. I don't know what this I don't know what this card really does. I've never seen it before, but it's kind of cool. But I think this is a little bit of the Doom Caliber, the main deck Decree, the main deck Mobius, and I think he did see my deck. I'm not sure exactly how much of it is because he watched my game before this, but or if this is just his actual deck list. But he makes a critical error in this game, and it costs him pretty poorly. We're gonna go ahead and top deck a Breaker. We're kind of in an awkward spot. I'm forced to basically lure away the Breaker, which sucks. We do find DD Warrior Lady, which is kind of nice. I'm going to set and activate D-Fissure, and I believe I just set the DD Warrior Lady to try and trade with the Doom Caliber. He picks up Heavy Storm. He's going to sack for Mobius, and he's going to target both my back row. I'm in a Starlight Road, and he doesn't chain Royal Decree, which I don't understand. I just don't understand why he didn't do this. And this costs him the game. Like, it just cost him the game straight up. Like, he just can't win from here. Like, this position is so bad for him. And then on our turn, we draw. We're able to break her. And if I play this in real time, you'll see I pop his back row. I see it's Royal Decree. And then I sit here thinking, like, why didn't he chain the Decree to Starlight Road? And I sit here thinking for a while. I'm, like, kind of like, why would he not do that? I'm, like, confused. It's like, you know, when your Pokemon is confused and then it hits itself? That's how long I sat there thinking. I was like, why didn't he chain Decree to the Starlight Road? Did he want to give me a free start? Like, I didn't understand. Did he want to give me the fucking +3 Starlight Road of my dreams? I didn't understand. So we're able to steal this game because he just didn't do that. And he has a lot of tribute monsters, which obviously I haven't seen, so I don't really know how to side against him. And we just go to the next game. Here, I don't really remember how I boarded. I think I boarded in the Pulling the Rugs. And the Jujutsu Masters. They make another appearance. Card sucks. I don't know why this is in my deck. I'm able to Cyber Dragon, attack over Doom Caliber, and set the Jujutsu Master, set a couple back row. He Cyber Dragons. I book my own Cyber Dragon, but then I get punished by him having a Monarch. I was hoping that he would not have another card. He would attack into our Cyber Dragon like a Mirror Force, and then have a lot of pressure on the next turn with Doom Caliber, Jujutsu, and Cyber Dragon attacking directly for 5,200 points of damage, or 5,300 points of damage, but unfortunately we do get punished. Not the end of the world, we just set the Dust Tornado. Jujutsu Master trades with the Caius kind of effectively, and his hand is like just fucking all tribute monsters. This is a few too many tribute monsters. You might want to cut some of these if you're watching this video. Blazing Red Diablo. Doom Caliber Knight trades with the Gores. He has no other plays. He's top decking Caius. His hand is just 5 tribute monsters. We top deck DD Survivor. I know Gores is gone, so I'm just going to start swinging. And set the Trap Hole. He top decks Soul Exchange. He's going to Soul Exchange the DD Survivor. He manages to Caius the one of our 3 back row that's not chainable. And we're going to chain the Trap Hole to kill the Caius. On our turn, we find another Dust Tornado. We just set that pass. He finds another Tribute Monster, just passes. I summon DD Survivor, attack. And these cards are good, but when you can't play them, they obviously look pretty silly. Pretty silly. And now the Brain Control is basically guaranteed lethal. Even though you do have Fader, it's just too little, too late, and we have Doom Caliber to prevent that. So, yeah, don't overload on Tribute Monsters is the lesson of this match. Okay, and finally, wait, this is the wrong one. No, this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. This is my first match of the Iron Man. So my team is now 2-0. This is the third opponent on the Iron Man. I am playing against Oreki. And in the last match, he did bring Hero Beat. So that's all I know, is that he did bring Hero Beat. I don't know if he's going to bring it again. You can switch your deck in the FL Ironmans, but if you guys want to play in these Ironmans, they're 4v4 single elimination tournaments. You can join the Format Library Discord in the description below. They fire whenever there's 8 players, and they're super fun. It's my favorite way to play ranked in the FL Discord, by far, bar none. It is so much fun. It's cool to have like sort of a team thing. It's kind of hype, you know. Everyone gets excited when you sweep. There's like comebacks. It's an exciting time. So this game is pretty cool. I'm second up, and Oreki's third up on his team, or their team, I should say. I start off with Cyber Valley and Breaker. I don't want to summon either of these into the dark, basically. So I believe I just set 3 and pass. Yeah, I set Deep Prison, Dust, and Solemn. And I'm thinking if he is on Hero Beat still, or if Oreki is on Hero Beat still, and he summons Alias, I will do nothing. I will just take the damage. And that's exactly what happens. Oreki finds Alias, summons it, and I just take the damage. I'm like, I don't want to get 2 for 1 by Gemini Spark. Which is fair-ish. Kinda dumb on my part, because now I'm just going to get 2 for 1 by Gemini Spark no matter what. But here we are. I special summon the Cyber Dragon. This is why you hold your Dust Tornadoes, ladies and gentlemen, because they activate Oppression. I'm able to get 800 life points and know exactly which back row is going to deal with my Cyber Dragon. I will chain it here. And here I am going to try and run over the Alias. But unfortunately, Cyber Dragon runs into Deep Prison, so kind of sucks. Main phase 2, I'm going to summon Breaker, try to pop the middle back row, but I do get 50-50'd, and that is the Gemini Spark. I try to Solemn it because I hate getting 2 for 1s, but they have Bribe, which is fine, because then I get my 2 for 1 back, and I pick up a Deep Prison, which is a great piece of defense against this deck. This deck is very monster light. And you'll see in the next few minutes why this deck is so fragile in the face of some monster removal. All right, we're gonna set both our battle traps, and they are gonna summon Stratos. We have 3 ways to remove monsters here, so I'm just gonna spend it on anything they summon. They have 2 Miracle Fusions, but only one of those is gonna be live. I'm gonna deprison one of these, or I'm deprison Stratos. Just get it banished. I don't want them looping it with the Ocean. If they have a turn where they just summon Ocean past, they'll be able to bring back the Stratos, and that makes me a sad panda. I pick up Defissure, which is okay. I set the Cyber Valley, which is, I'm gonna be real, a mistake. I should have summoned it. I was thinking his next turn he'll summon Ocean, and he either will or he won't attack. If he does attack, we've got 2 ways to clear it. 2 ways to get it banished. If he doesn't attack, then that's fine. I can just flip the Cyber Valley whenever. But I should have just summoned it. I was thinking maybe if he has Cyber Dragon, because his hand, he hasn't played any cards in his hand. If he has Cyber Dragon, he can't even contact anyway, because Dimensional Fissure prevents that. So I was playing a little bit silly by setting it here. I should have summoned it, and it actually cost me. It's a slight mistake, but it does cost me here in a second. He finds E-Call, which is actually really good. He does make the correct play, which is Miracle away his Ocean now before it gets banished. Make sure the Miracle is live, and make sure the Absolute Zero turns into a kill spell for my set monster. If I had just, had my fucking Cyber Valley face up, I would have just been able to banish it, draw a card, no big deal. Next turn I could clear the Absolute Zero however I feel is fit. But unfortunately here I'm going to lose my Cyber Valley for no value, which makes me very sad. Unfortunate. Sag. He sets his Miracle Fusion. I top deck Doom Caliber, and I'm like, let's fucking go. Doom Caliber Knight hits for 19. No heroes in the grave. Only 1 hero in hand. And these heroes, they don't play that many. They play 3 Alias, and then once those are gone, I'll take this trade. I'll take this trade any day of the week. Because I'm like, okay, that's another Alias gone. 2 of them are gone. Now Sparks are dead. Now Hero Blasts are dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you gotta banish these fuckers. You get them banished, that's it. And I'm like, that's the last Alias. Here's the kill spell that's gonna banish it. I'm living pretty. I also have Rhoda off the top, which is excellent. That can grab us DD Survivor, and he can start applying some pressure. I don't even have to Mirror Force the guy if I don't want to, but picks up Solemn Judgment, normal summons Alias, correctly doesn't attack. We pick up Dark Bribe, which is going to be a great answer to that Solemn Judgment. Picks up Mirror Force. Mirror Force pretty bad against Survivor. Defissure, he attacks. We just flip Mirror Force. He Solemns, and then we do Bribe that, because I want to banish his last Alias, and you'll see here he draws into a dead Hero Blast, which is exactly why once you've banished these monsters, their deck just does nothing. It's like effectively like a bunch of blanks. Even though they're up cards, even though they're up whatever positioning, we're able to swing. This forces the Mirror Force, but DD Survivor again just comes back. Once you get to these low resource positions, DD Survivor plus Defissure is excellent at closing out the game. It plays into all trap cards very, very well. What else was I doing? Okay, he top decks Royal Oppression, and he realizes he's dead on board to the Survivor. Has no active plays. Gonna go into game 2, and game 2 is where we get to see even more of this low monster count nonsense. I don't start off. I go second. They start off with an insane hand. This is like the best possible hand. You have Future Fusion to get in under the Defissure. You get to send your monsters. Make sure your first Miracle Fusion is live as well. E-Call for Stratos. It's just the best possible start. Like you have everything you need. You have defense for your Stratos. You have Smash and Ground for the first threat. You have pressure in the form of these 2, plus the Absolute Zero that's coming. It's looming on the horizon. Sets the Deprison and passes the turn. I pick up Defissure, and I'm like, man, this hand sucks. I'm going to summon Doom Caliber, and I don't actually activate Defissure here before attacking, because I think that there's a chance he might not actually spend a removal spell on the Doom Caliber Knight if he doesn't know about Defissure. So I'm thinking I can maybe clear this Stratos now if he doesn't know about Defissure. But he does. So unfortunately for us, that's going to happen, and we're just going to pass. Now here, I think Ureki makes actually a really big mistake. Like a really, really big mistake. And the big mistake is you have 2 monsters, right, in your hand. You have E-Call, you have Alias. Summon one of them. E-Call for Ocean. Summon one of them. This slight sequence is the first, like, tiny, it's like a tiny thread in your t-shirt. And this is a tiny little thread. It gets pulled on, And the whole rest of the game comes crashing down because he didn't summon. Because he didn't find an ocean and summon on this turn. Cost a Reki the entire game. It's quite funny, actually. And I'm thinking about it in this moment, and I'm thinking, like, I am so lucky that he didn't summon the Alias or any other monster here. Because if he did, like, there's no way I'm coming back from this pressure. There's no way. I just can't do it. There's no way I can do it. Main phase 2, sets the compulsory and passes. Now on our turn, we find D-Prison, which is pretty good. I just activate D-Fissure. I set the DD Warrior Lady, and I set the D-Prison. Now we're actually not in a bad spot. I also set the Brain Control. Brain Control is a card I probably should have sided out in this matchup. I did side out the Mind Control, and I sided out some number of the Cyber Valleys because I know they do play Cyber Dragon, but it's tough. I also know that they do play Skill Drain. It's tough because you only have so many cards you can bring in, but Brain Control definitely should have been one of the cards I took out. It's quite bad in this matchup in general. It's very hard to convert, especially without the Cyber Valleys. I have the Sirocco and the 2 Cyber Dragons, which will let me Tribute Summon, but that's just not coming up here at all. And you can also see the inefficiency of these Smashing Grounds as well. On this turn, I make a slight error. So he summons the Absolute Zero in defense position. Here I actually make a pretty big mistake. He elects to go for Stratos attack my set monster. Now that I have back row, it makes sense he's not summoning further, but imagine he had an Ocean in play here. He's able to bounce the Stratos. Like, the game just cascades out of my control. Like, there's no way I'm winning. Stratos attacks. I should have let this attack go through. I should have let this go to damage, and I should have banished with the DD Warrior Lady. This was a mistake. Instead, I deprisoned the Stratos, and now I'm like, fuck. Now I can't Smashing Ground effectively on the Absolute Zero, and I'm going to take damage that I normally would not have taken. So this is actually pretty bad for me that I did this. I should have traded the DD Warrior Lady with Stratos and not the D-Prison. You'll see, because on my turn, if I still have D-Prison, I can Smashing Ground, clear the Absolute Zero, and everybody's happy, right? On my turn now, I can't Smashing Ground the Absolute Zero. I just have to hope he attacks into the DD Warrior Lady with his Absolute Zero, which is... It's a lot to ask for. It's a lot to ask for sure. He sets Space Typhoon and then passes. We pick up Legendary Jujutsu Master. I unfortunately cannot play this because of my sequencing. I would have been way up ahead if I had just traded the DD Warrior Lady with the Stratos and then Smashing Ground this and was able to set the Jujutsu Master and everything, but unfortunately the circumstances are... This is where I'm at. I'm behind 2 plays now, which really sucks. He's going to summon the Ocean. He's going to attack our set DD Warrior Lady. I'm actually not going to banish here. I can always choose to banish on my turn because I can switch it to attack and attack the Ocean. And there's also... I can also double Smashing next turn, which is fine. So that's what I'm thinking. He uses his Smashing Ground, which is great for me because now the Absolute Zero is like basically useless. And I pick up Typhon, which is really good. There was a moment in time where he was thinking, and I think it was in response to the D-Prison. He was thinking. He could have compulsed his own Stratos, and I was thinking this back row actually was Dark Bribe, the one next to the Future Fusion, and that comes up here in a second. I have this read, basically, that this card is Dark Bribe, and it's because he was thinking when he attacked with Stratos and I used D-Prison. Here I Smashing Ground the Absolute Zero. That clears it. It does get banished as well, cutting off Miracle Fusion, well, Miracle Fusion number 2, which probably are sided out for a Reki anyway. Now I Typhoon this, the Compulsory Evacuation device, and he actually chains it to put the Ocean back in his hand, which to me is great. That means I don't need to Smash and Ground the Ocean right now. I can just set my Jujutsu Master and chill out. And that's what I do. I am behind a lot. Look how many cards I am behind. Opponent has 6 cards. I have effectively 2. I have Smash and Ground and Jujutsu Master. But keep in mind, this hero deck is very monster light. As long as you can keep the monsters clear, it doesn't matter, you will inevitably beat the deck. So now, opponent is going to Space Typhoon or D-Fissure, summon the Neos Alias. They want to make sure that Alias will hit the grave through the Spark. They're going to attack the Jujutsu Master. That's going to put it on top of the deck. And they're going to set the E-Call and pass a turn. We're going to pick up Torrential. I'm just going to set that and pass. They are going to normal summon Alias. I just let this happen because I want to Smash and Ground it. But this is kind of stupid because they do end up having Gemini Spark, which sucks. I also wanted to wait a turn to see if I picked up D-Fissure, but I didn't. I go ahead and Smash and Ground. They chain Spark, and they correctly hit the Torrential Tribute here, which is annoying. They draw into Miracle Fusion. I set Bottomless. I pass the turn. They draw E-Call. I think I Bottomless this. Yeah, I do, and they don't Miracle. here, do they? They don't miracle. Huh. Why didn't they miracle? Yeah, that's just missed damage. They would have killed us. They would have killed us had they made the first summon on that one turn and then miracled on this turn. We would have lost the game. Dang, that's crazy. I'm just now realizing that they had miracle at this point. That's pretty sus. Here we are going to be able to banish their monster with DD Warrior Lady. They still don't miracle. Really disciplined. I set the Mirror Force. They pick up another Gemini Spark, which is actually, I think, bad for us. I think they have another alias. No, they don't. They have no more alias. So they need a way to get the alias back before this Spark can be live. They have nothing. We find Return, which could at least give us one-shot defense, or maybe an OTK if it gets to that point. They find Hero Blast, which is bad for us. We find DD Warrior Lady. I set it here instead of summoning it. Do not want to play into Hero Blast. That's like the worst thing you could do here. They top deck another Miracle. Now they finally go for it. I'm just shocked they didn't go for it up until this point. Maybe they wanted to get the value of playing Absol-Zero into a live monster and live back row, but I think the pressure from Absol-Zero here would have been much more valuable for them. You can see why brain control is so bad now. It just doesn't do anything unless you're going for game, which we're never really going to be in a position to do that when we're playing defensively constantly. We find Trap Hole, which is just another piece of monster removal. We are still down 7 cards to basically 3 at this point, and we're also down life points. But we have 2 ways to clear monsters, so it could be worse. We pick up Cyber Dragon. That's just going to be a pass from us. They pick up Dark Bribe. We pick up the Breaker, and here I make a mistake. I summon the Breaker. I shouldn't have done this, because Hero Blast is live. I wanted them to be forced to use a Hero Blast while not using it on one of my monsters. Yeah, I shouldn't have done this. This was a mistake. They pick up Honest. They are able to normal the alias. I'm going to Trap Hole, and they chain Gemini Spark, and they hit our Mirror Force. Very fortunate for them that they hit the other live piece of removal, which sucks. They pick up Dust Tornado, and now they're just in an awkward spot. You know, they're just in an awkward spot. It's just an awkward place to be. They don't cast the Rhoda. We pick up Gale. Again, I don't want to play into an active Hero Blast, so I just pass. I realized my mistake last turn. They have Cyber Dragon, so they pass. They don't pass. They normal summon Honest. I'm like, fuck, I need to find an answer to this. This is going to be a problem. I do find Rhoda. I'm able to Rhoda for DD Survivor, I believe. And then I normal that, and I attack for 18. They don't have, I don't think, any answer to this, except for Solemn, which is not great. They have 2 set E-calls, is that correct? Yeah, they do, yeah. And yeah, they just take 18. D-Prison, not that great against DD Survivor, but they do have Cyber Dragon. Here they special summon Cyber Dragon, and I'm like, if they have double Honest, they win. I can't beat that. But they only have 1 Honest, so they're only able to deal 300 here. And I'm just like, thank goodness. Here I pick up Dust Tornado, but I am forced to act this turn, or else I die to Honest with Cyber Dragon. So I have to special Cyber Dragon. They are going to Solemn that. I'm going to brain control their Cyber Dragon. They're going to Dark Bribe me. I'm going to find Spirit Reaper, and I'm like, huh. This little guy's pretty good, isn't he? This little guy can keep me safe from everything. And provided he doesn't have Skill Drain, he might not have another out to this. Maybe he has one more Hero Blast. Maybe, but that might be the game. So I go ahead and I set Spirit Reaper, I set Dust Tornado, and I'm like, Dust Tornado can hit Hero Blast. Unfortunately, they have their own Dust Tornado for ours. So I'm like, okay, that's tough. That's tough. They summon Honest. They actually attack directly, or attack with Cyber Dragon first here, and that runs into Spirit Reaper, and I'm just like chilling. I'm chilling now. They bounce the Honest. Mirror Force D-Prison, not doing much. E-Calls set, not doing much. Rhoda in hand, Miracle in hand, completely dead. They are out of monsters. We pick up Thunder King, and I'm like, huh, that guy's kind of cool. No reason to play him, but he's kind of cool. Finds Bottomless Trap Hole, sets that, passes the turn. We find Doom Caliber. I pass the turn. He finds his Hero Blast. So at this point, we are going to lose our little boy, our little spirit boy, sadly. We need to find an out. Thankfully, we do. We find D-Prison, and he has no way of really effectively dealing with this D-Prison. So I'm going to set my D-Prison, and I am going to set my Doom Caliber, because at this point, it's just like, well, I don't set my Doom Caliber. I just pass. Ooh, I should have set my Doom Caliber there. That was a mistake. Yeah, that was a big mistake. In any case, he attacks with the Cyber Dragon. We D-Prison. Not playing into Mirror Force or Torrential, but they're both gone. So I think another misplay from Araki. Just summon the other monster. Both my sweepers are gone. Can't really do much else about it. And even if I could, like, you get me? You feel what I'm saying? Like, even if I can use both my back row, like, you're pretty happy about that, right? Like, that's not It's not a bad thing. Main phase 2 summons the alias. We know about the honest, which is a problem. So we have to set our Doom Caliber and we pass. They do find another Deep Prison, which is another dead card. They summon honest. They attack into it with honest, which is crazy because the last time they attacked with the bigger monster first, and this time they just switched it up, attacking with the honest first, which I don't fully understand. But thankfully we are able to mitigate our life points there. They bounce back the honest. On our turn, we find our third Deep Prison, and that's going to be the last piece of removal we need to clear this alias. I summon the Sirocco because 2000 is very strong. I pass the turn. I'm like, if they have Cyber Dragon, they kill us. If they don't have Cyber Dragon, then we should be okay. It's possible I should have summoned Thunder King Ryo instead to prevent Cyber Dragon, but that's just something I should have done. They go ahead and attack the Sirocco. I deprison the alias. They don't special the Cyber Dragon. They just set deprison and pass. I am not going to attack directly with Sirocco. I'm just going to set the bottomless that I drew for turn. I'm going to set my Ryo, and I should have switched my Sirocco to defense. Another mistake. I also probably should have just summoned the Ryo to play around the Cyber Dragon, but hey, I didn't want to play into bottomless or whatever, so here we are. Special summon Cyber Dragon, gets bottomless, and that's going to be the game. They just have no way to kill us from this point. They only have one more honest, which we can just keep setting monsters into, more or less, and that's gonna close things out. I was starting to type out the cards that I thought he could have left in his deck, but hey, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You got to deck him out. This is a crazy Iron Man match. A few very critical misplays from Areki cost him this game, and the D-Fissure deck was able to pull ahead using some advanced tactics, the deck out tactics. Okay, and then the final match I want to show you guys is my second Iron Man match. This is I'm second in the queue, and Maki is fourth in the queue. They are playing Cat Plant, and I'm playing the D-Fissure deck. And we'll go ahead and see how this game turns out. Game 1, I have a pretty excellent start. I have everything you could possibly ask for in this deck. I have D-Fissure, I have Cyber Valley, I have a DD Warrior Lady, I have good trap cards. So I'm going to go ahead and summon the Cyber Valley, set the bottomless, and then activate the D-Fissure. They are going to top deck Lone Fire Blossom. Their hand is actually very weak into D-Fissure. They are going to summon Lone Fire. To play around bottomless, they attack the Cyber Valley first. This is a heads-up play from Maki. We activate the Cyber Valley. We draw into Cyber Dragon. Here they activate Lone Fire, and then we do bottomless the Titanium. They're going to chain Book, but thankfully for us, we have DD Warrior Lady. On our turn, we special Cyber Dragon. We normal summon DD Warrior Lady. We banish the Titanium using the power of DD Warrior Lady. One of the best cards in the format. Literally, hands down, one of the best cards in the format. This card should be more played. Definitely more played in different decks as well. 2100 direct. Thankfully, no Gores. Even if there was, we'd have Mirror Force for it. We set D-Prison. Pass the turn. Here they activate Cold Wave, and then they summon Rescue Cat and activate it. And I didn't catch this because I had just gotten done playing 17 matches with this deck, but you can't actually activate Rescue Cat under D-Fissure because it needs to send to the graveyard as cost. So because I didn't catch this, and none of the watchers caught this, and none of the people who were in the game caught this, Maki didn't even realize, we do end up letting this go through, but this would have been game 1. Fortunately, I don't think it ends up mattering. I think I do end up winning game 1 anyway. I take this hit because I can't deprison because I'm under Cold Wave. On my turn, I just draw Tarantula and I'm forced to pass. Here, they could sack the Android for Caius. I don't really know why they don't, but instead they just decide to attack. We are going to deprison this. And then they set the Monk and set their bottomless. On our turn, I summon Breaker. I try to pop their back row, but they have bottomless for me, which makes me kind of sad. I set the Tarantula in case they have Caius, or this is Raikou. If they flip Raikou, I can like Tarantula it or whatever. They top deck Card Trooper. That does nothing. Card Trooper Dandelion, total blanks in the face of D-Fissure. Caius Shadow Monarch going to come down here. It's going to target the D-Fissure. I'm going to chain Tarantula. And at this point, I believe I'm able to take control of things. Maybe not quite. Doom Caliber attacks 1900. I wish I'd cut that Rescue Cat thing. That would have been much better. But it doesn't end up mattering. Card Trooper trades with the Doom Caliber effectively for +1, which sucks for us. I do note that they are playing multiple copies of Bottomless Main, as well as Limit Reverse and Call of the Haunted. As this game goes on, I find another D-Fissure, which is huge. I wrote it for DD Survivor. I activate D-Fissure, and I normal summon the DD Survivor, and I attack directly for 18. This is super good. They need to be able to clear the D-Fissure before their limit reverse kind of cards can do anything at all, because Card Trooper can't even activate his effect, pay the cost under D-Fissure, so it would just be a 400 vanilla. Find another DD Survivor, which is just great. We attack over the Dandelion and attack directly for 18. Find Space Typhoon. So Maki is able to Space Typhoon the D-Fissure and actually mount a counter offense here with the Card Trooper, which is interesting, which is very interesting. One thing Maki could have done differently this turn, which I thought about in the moment, is that Maki could have attacked my DD Survivor with their DD Survivor without using Limit Reverse, just not using it quite yet, without using Space Typhoon either. After attack declaration, I'm never mirror forcing there. I'm just like, all right, you got me. You can banish one of my DD Survivors. In the battle step, Space Typhoon the D-Fissure, and then you clear both DD Survivors for the price of one brain control. And then you have this limit reverse for Card Trooper, which is also very good later on. But instead, Maki went for this play, which I think is a little weaker because it plays into Mirror Force pretty badly. They top deck Book of Moon off of the Card Trooper. I find D-Prison, which is going to help protect my DD Survivor. They are going to call the Haunted Hamster. I think this is an interesting play if I'm them. It's their only play, more or less. Besides, well, they could have booked DD Survivor and then called like something else on their turn and tried to make a synchro play or something. But instead they call the Nimble Mega Hamster, which is a little passive, and then they book it and they get a Raikou, and then I set D-Prison. I'm like, that's fine. Either they D-Prison the DD Survivor or they Raikou the DD Survivor and I top deck a monster, I kill them over the Raikou, or they Raikou the D-Prison and the DD Survivor kills them immediately. So they're forced to Raikou the DD Survivor if they want to flip it. And if they want to flip it, any top deck monster kills them at 200. So I'm like kind of chilling. I pick up DD Warrior Lady. Here I summon DD Warrior Lady. I try to attack the set monster. It is Dandelion. In hindsight, I probably should have attacked the hamster instead, but because I can run through a Dandelion tokens with one survivor, but I can't run through a hamster with one survivor. So it kind of gets to this stalled out board state. Multiple copies of Limit Reverse is very interesting, but it doesn't end up mattering. I top deck Banisher the Radiance. They top deck Pot of Avarice with not enough cards in the graveyard. They're forced to Raikou pop the Banisher. They mill monsters. They Pot of Avarice. And then I think they find an out, if I remember correctly. Oh, they find the way to Synchro. They Synchro. I activate D-Prison. On my turn, I find Dark Bribe. That's going to guarantee me a lethal push at some point. They find Mind Control. They're forced to pass. They set Card Trooper. I normal summon Cyber Valley. I activate to banish both and draw 2. I am able to find an Allure and a Banisher. I get DD Survivor back at the end phase, so a nice little pot of greed for me at the cost of my normal summon. They find Solemn Judgment. They're going to set that. We find Brain Control, so on our turn we normal summon Banisher. This is to play around Torrential. If they want a Torrential first, then it's better to hold the Brain till after, and then I Brain the Hamster after. They Solemn, and we Dark Bribe, and that's the game, because they are too low for Limit Reverse to do anything. Game 2 goes a little bit worse. just throwing it out there. It goes a little bit worse. This matchup should be good for me. But game 2 I have an all monster hand, and the Fossil Dyna, it ends up biting me a little bit. Opponent has an actually very good hand in that they have Rescue Cat Torrential. I actually disagree with their sequencing quite a bit in this game. I think what they should have done was set Torrential and maybe not even set the Raikou, I think. Or maybe set Raikou, set Torrential. But the idea is you can Rescue Cat priority chain Torrential, and then... Actually, honestly, they should have set... Yeah, just something like that, yeah. But basically, Rescue Cat Torrential is a combo. And I would have tried to maximize on that combo and utilize Torrential as like a sweeper, a forward-facing sweeper. We are forced to Rhoda for DD Survivor in this position. D-Fissure is doing exactly what I wanted to do, which is basically trade with the Raikou pops, but I misplay a little bit in summoning DD Survivor. I probably should have summoned Fossil Dyna instead here. That was my biggest mistake, is I should have used Fossil Dyna now, and then DD Survivor later to play into the back row once the D-Fissure is gone. Fossil Dyna also does a better job at attacking into Hamster, and this probably cost me the game. No cap. This mistake is huge. It's a pretty big mistake, because then on their turn they they have a cat play, and there's nothing I can do about it. I actually don't like this cat play from them because they're just trading their cat and their book for my DD Survivor and one card in my hand. Which is not good. It's not good in my opinion. I think it's quite bad. I think I would have rather just made an android and attacked over this and saved the book and, you know, just let me have 4 cards, pretty much. Here we realized that last game they did activate Rescue Cat under D-Fissure, which is quite funny. We do lose Gale, I believe, which sucks, but what can you do? Top deck Dark Bribe, not the best. I set Dinah because I'm like, post board they probably sided out Card Trooper. And that's the only thing that can attack over Dinah. And both Airbellums are gone. So they only have Card Trooper as a way to attack over Dinah. That doesn't involve them special summoning. So I'm like, I can set Dinah safely here. I don't want to set DD Warrior Lady in case they have something like set Hamster. Then I can like flip Dinah and then maybe DD Warrior Lady into the Hamster. Whatever, Dinah attack directly, but yeah, it just doesn't work out too hot. I summon Banisher, they have Torrential, I'm forced to Dark Bribe, which sucks, but that's that. And of course they do have Card Trooper, which sucks as well. They pick up Foolish Burial. You can see here why these cards are bad in this matchup. They don't do anything here, but they have D-Prison to answer the Banisher, which punishes us pretty hard. No cap. We find Bottomless, but that doesn't do anything against Card Trooper specifically, so we're going to lose everything and just start to fall behind really, really quickly. They find Dandelion. That doesn't really do anything. They Card Trooper, mill 3, attack the Dinah, correctly attacking that one and not the DD Warrior Lady, which is just essentially a 50-50. I mean, like, you couldn't know exactly what this is, or exactly what either of these are, because I maybe didn't want to play them into back row or whatever, so I don't know. I just get 50-50, and that's unfortunate. They Foolish the Dandy, which is fine. On our turn, we find Smashing Ground. That doesn't do anything. I just pass. They mill 3 with Trooper, and then Avarice, which they left in as well. So they left in Avarice and Card Trooper, and because of all their other shit, I'm like, okay, maybe they just can't afford to side out Limit Reverse and Card Trooper and stuff, so they're forced to leave it in. So it changes the way I sideboard in the next game, and that cost me the game too. I just made some messy sideboard decisions. Like Smashing Ground, I brought in for Titanial. But it's just not very good here. It's just not very good. Attacks the DD Warrior Lady. DD Warrior Lady banishes. Titanial attacks directly. And I've already taken the 2800 hit, which is what matters, basically. I Smashing the Titanial. I normal summon Cyber Valley. I pass. They find Cold Wave. They set, I believe, nothing. They summon Dandelion attack. Banish the Cyber Valley. Draw Mind Control, which is really awkward. I wish I had had it one more turn, or drawn these in a different order, maybe. I set Doom Caliber, because I don't want them to, like... I don't want them to, like, somehow kill this with, like, a Lone Fire Blossom or something. And then I set Mind Control, because I know they have at least one Dust Tornado left, and Mind Control is completely dead now that Cyber Valley's gone. So I want them to dust this and save my Torrential for later. So I use the Mind Control as bait. Works out. They have Lone Fire. So setting Doom Caliber is fucking great here. It should wall this out. Except Maki is playing 2 fucking copies of Titanial. So we just lose. Because they're playing 2 copies of Titanial. Which is unfortunate. It's cool tech. Don't get me wrong. It's cool tech. I think this is one of the best cards in the deck. And I think having a second copy actually comes up a lot more than you'd think. I think it's very good. I think it's very, very good tech. And it does cost us this game, unfortunately. We don't find an out off the top. Which sucks. Sucks big time. Yep. They Cold Wave, I chain Dust Tornado, and what they should have done is actually Titanial negate the Dust Tornado. Not giving us the information of the Bottomless, but we're going to go to Game 3. Game 3, I bring in double Jujitsu Master in a matchup where I normally wouldn't. And I leave in the Smashing Grounds because double Titanial. I'm just like thinking, man, they have 2 Titanials. I got to be able to deal with them. I set Jujitsu Master, I set D-Prison, and I pass. Unfortunately for us, they just have like an insane hand. Like they just have like this plays through back row, this plays through back row, this plays through back row, and all we have is back row plus like a dead return, which is never getting live. because we don't have D-Fissure. So they summon Cyber Dragon, they attack. I thought really hard here about letting this attack go through. In hindsight, I probably should have. I should have saved my D-Prison. And this also should have been a bottomless behind the Jujutsu Master too, but that's it pretty much. We D-Prison the Cyber Dragon, and then they pass. And this is where I'm like, man, fuck Legendary Jujutsu Master. I don't want this card in my fucking deck anymore. This card is fucking dog shit terrible. So I'm going to be cutting them after this match, basically, because I draw 2, and it just doesn't do anything here. I flip it, I attempt to attack into what I think is a Raikou, and it's just 50-50'd into a hamster, and I'm like, well, fuck me. Because, like, what can you do at this point? It's like, I'm just fucking dead to anything. Gets Raikou. I have no D-Fissure, I have no Macro, I have no Banisher, I have no DD Warrior Lady. I have no way to turn this return on. I just have these shitty fucking Jujutsu Masters, which are passive and don't do anything. And I have this shitty fucking Smashing Ground, which is passive and doesn't do anything. They flip the Raikou. They pop the Torrential. I probably shouldn't have even set this Jujutsu Master, so I could Torrential here, which is pretty big misplay on my part. But at this point, I'm just tilted. I'm just fucking tilted. I chain Bottomless. They set their Solemn. They pass. I pick up Cyber Dragon. I just switch my Jujutsu Master and set Return because I'm like, I don't want a Smashing Ground a fucking hamster that's already killed me. Basically, it's already given them a million pluses. They summon Card Trooper, and I'm like, that's fucking insane. And then they mill Dandelion, and I'm like, all right, I'm malding at this point because I'm playing the D-Fissure deck, and in the top 8 cards, I haven't found a D-Fissure, which is fine. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. I top deck Starlight Road, one of the worst cards I could draw here. I'm like, I could summon the Cyber Dragon now, or I could wait till the next turn. They're going to get 3 more mills. But there's a chance they just don't even summon the Card Trooper. So at least this forces them to summon the Card Trooper and denies them the draw. So that's my plan here. I summon the Cyber Dragon, I attack over the hamster. It also clears the hamster and makes it so I have Smashing for Titanial when that does come up eventually. Because I know it will. They contact here into Chimera Tech. They attack for 2,000. And hopefully I top deck an out to this 2,000 monster. But I just fucking don't. I just draw Cyber Valley. So I Smashing the Chimera Tech, which is arguably a misplay. But I just wanted to keep pressure off. And I normal summon Cyber Valley and pass. And then here, of course, they find Lone Fire off the top, and they're able to set up this board, and I have just nothing for it. Just super behind in tempo and in position, and this D-Prison does nothing against fucking active Titanial with multiple plants. I try to activate Return to get 2 more draws. I do get 2 more draws. Again, keep in mind, 12 cards in, I haven't seen D-Fissure, Macro, or Banisher. I attack over the Lone Fire here, hoping he would fucking Mirror Force or something so I could Starlight Road, but he doesn't. Just able to clear 1 Lone Fire with the Jujutsu Master. I draw into Doom Caliber to Space Typhoon. And I'm like, I can maybe try and bait the Titanial by summoning Doom Caliber and like Typhooning and whatnot, but best thing I can do is summon the Doom Caliber and hope that they have a Titanial in their deck so that they activate this Lone Fire. Doom Caliber trades with it, and then I can D-Prison this Titanial. Unfortunately for us, they just have fucking Rescue Cat anyway and are able to trade with the Doom Caliber. And then they go and get Dandelion, which is... It doesn't matter. If they had the Titanial in deck, it would have killed us anyway. I chained Space Typhoon here to see what their last back row was, and it ended up being Solemn, so they could have stopped anything we did anyway. And I was like, which one of these is the Titanial? Because I knew it was in hand. But we do die here, unfortunately, which sucks. In the top 14 cards, we didn't have anything that banished the graveyard. We didn't have anything to shut off these powerful plays from the opponent, and as a result, we lost the game. And we're out of the Iron Man. Can't be too upset about a 1-1 finish in an Iron Man against some really powerful players, but I was a little bit tilted after this game because our deck should, in theory, destroy this deck. It's funny because this video is going to be a bunch of matches where I'm beating matchups that I should never beat, and then I lose to a matchup that I should never lose to, which is quite funny. But that's just the way it goes. Sometimes they're Raikou 50-50s you, sometimes they're Caius 50-50s you, and you just lose the game. In any case, next time I'm going to have to tighten up my play with this deck. I think it's very good. I think it has a lot of potential. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I'm also, working on some new stuff with Card Path. Let me know what you guys think of the new series and everything. I'll see you guys in the next vid. Peace out.